All right, so for this week, as we continue on with technical aspects of art, there are a few things that you will need for this week. We are going to learn this week about the principles of design, so it's continuing from learning about the elements of art last week to the rest of kind of the fundamentals of art and what you need to be successful in creating and discussing works of art. So this week what you're going to do is finish reading the section content. You will have your research paper assignment, which is a continuation from week 2, where you are now going to select an artist and an artwork from the time period and region that you chose. And you will also finish your quiz, 6-point quiz. Couple things I want to make note of is that if you had troubles last week getting into class or doing any assignments, you have time to finish week 4 this week. Also, since last week was kind of crazy and chaotic, you can also work on week 3 as well, because I know some people maybe had to use the grace period last week for week 3 and then was having troubles getting into classes and being able to access the quiz or tests. So again, you can work on anything from week 3 and 4 and turn that in by this Saturday to earn all points depending on work provided. So we're going to continue with the principles of design, and I want to kind of go through what those are. So here I've got a PowerPoint. So we will start that. And the principles of art are basically the rules or guidelines that govern the way in which the elements of art go together. So as a brief overview, we have emphasis, which is a focal point, harmony, which is seeing if everything is unified within the work, balance, contrast, repetition, rhythm, and movement. So let's look at each one separately, which also kind of coincides with your reading. So emphasis. Emphasis is used by an artist to make an element or object stand out in a work of art. It is used by the artist to control what part of the artwork the viewer sees most or what they want their eye to go to, and is also used by the artist to control how long a viewer spends looking at each different part. So if you take a look at a painting or a picture in your house and you're just observing it for a little while, after a while you might notice that you continue to look at a same part over and over. And that would be where the artist was hoping you would look and what they were trying to emphasize in that painting. So depending on what type of picture or artwork that you're looking at will determine what they want you to see and focus on the longest. And usually with that, we'll then kind of tell a story or talk about the meaning of the painting itself. So if we take a look, we've got to make an element or object in a work of art stand out, the artist uses emphasis. So they may change the size of different items, so if we look at Van Gogh's painting of the sunflowers here, some of the sunflowers that are very large are also a more bold color that stands out from the background of yellow. Or you may change the color like Salvador Dali did here, where the rose is directly in the center of the painting, and it is a bright, bold color, so it makes your eye go directly to that image. Or by using line, where they create a viewpoint and they want you to look through a pathway. You might not see the line directly, it might be more indirect or implied, as we would call it, but it's moving your eye throughout the picture plane. The next principle is harmony, And that creates unity by stressing the similarities of separate but related parts. Harmony emphasizes relationships in the artwork, which encourage the eye to move throughout the piece. A lot of times, too, they will create colors that blend well together and help one another stand out a little bit more. So as you look through the painting here by George Seurat, the colors are somewhat muted. There's nothing that's super bold that stands out, and so all of the colors that they used in the color palette were harmonious together. And then to the right we have Kandinsky, and we've got a lot of movement here, a lot of lines and designs that is hard to see where you want to look. However, they are all kind of unified by their angles or repetition as well. And we will learn about those here in a minute too. So harmony or unity creates comfort for the viewer, allowing the eye to move throughout the artwork with ease because of the use of similarities. And here we have an example of a Romare Bearden print where they're creating an ease of our eye. You can look at the image. Nothing is standing out completely. It's not fighting with each other, all of the different images throughout, and they're kind of the same tone. Whereas if we look at the non-example, we have a Robinson image where there's a lot going on. It's hard to kind of decide where you want to look. You might have to look at this image for many minutes before you can understand what is going on. And so that's kind of creating a disconnect and hard to understand as well. Then we have balance. Balance in an artwork is the arrangement of the elements so that no one part of the work overpowers or seems heavier than another. And sometimes it's kind of hard to decipher and decide how to see balance in a work of art. But a few rules that we have, or types of balance, are symmetrical or formal balance. And symmetrical would be something where if you folded it in half, it would be the exact same on both sides. A lot of times I use a reference of a butterfly. The wings most of the times have designs in them, but if we fold it in half, usually, and I know in real life they may be a little bit different, but most of the time they are symmetrical. Then we have asymmetrical or informal balance, which means that both sides are not equal. If we folded it in half, they would not match up. However, the way that it was designed still makes one another feel balanced. And then we have radial balance, which is balance that creates a circle or a sphere. So if we take a look at some symmetrical or formal balance, it is created when one half of the artwork mirrors the other. It is predictable, thus sometimes less interesting. So the Claude Monet piece here, obviously if I folded it in half, it would not mirror the other. But a lot of the images or lilies that were created are shapes that if you folded them in half, it would match up. And then we also have the Da Vinci painting of the Last Supper here. And this is balanced, again, not exactly mirroring one another, but the way that all of the people are at the Last Supper still makes it feel balanced. There's the same amount of people on each side of Jesus. And then you also have the same amount of door openings as well. So if we took out the people and folded this in half, it would match up. The people themselves don't. However, the way that they're laid out still makes it feel symmetrically balanced. And then we have asymmetrical or informal balance, which is evident when two unlike objects appear to have equal weight. It is used skillfully and can create a more interesting composition. So if we take a look here at the Van Gogh painting, we've got a bed on one side that seems very large and very heavy. However, it's balanced by creating these chairs and side table that are using the same color as well. So even though this feels heavy, it's being balanced by the colors here to the left that are used in the painting, which makes it feel more balanced. And then we'll talk about radial balance, and that is when an artwork occurs to have elements or objects that are positioned around a center point. So here we have Georgia O'Keeffe's flower, and we've got our center point, and then everything else is balanced around creating a central point and circle. So what I'm going to do now is pause. This will be the end of the first part of the recording, and then we will continue the second portion of learning about all of the principles of design in the next video.